Alrighty, so all the games involving MLS team is in the books, and did you know that there was also two other CONCACAF Champions Cup game involving MLS team today? Because apparently it feels like MLS basically fully focused on this one, and I know it is the season opener for the 2024 MLS regular season, but there was also two CONCACAF Champions Cup game involving MLS team, and I even mentioned before, one of them actually take place at the same time when this game was kicking off, so I had to basically do a little double duty, basically watching both game at the same time. But that being said, just for me to be a little bit organized, I decided to put this season opener between Inter Miami versus RSL on one board, and the other board that I'll talk about in just a bit are going to be involving those two CONCACAF Champions Cup game involving both the New England Revolution and Orlando City against their respective CONCACAF Champions Cup opponent. With that being said, let us actually begin with the season opener itself, because I'm pretty sure that's the thing that everybody wants to talk about after tonight. And that, of course, is Inter Miami versus RSL. And I gotta say, this was really a game of two halves. I mean, in the first half, Inter Miami were by far the better team. But then in the second half, Real Salt Lake definitely woke up and made this a game. And this game, I think, is a clear example of the concern that I think Inter Miami fans will have, and maybe something that would delight a lot of MLS fans when their team face against Inter Miami, where as long as you survive the first half and you're in the game, then you have a chance in the second half. Because what we saw in this one, and we don't know if this is going to be the case for a majority of the season, but something tells me it is the case, because you can't just keep putting out Messi and his friends in the game for full 90 minutes and expect the fact that things are gonna be good, and that they're gonna stay the high intensity like what we saw in the first half. Because man, that second half, as soon as that second half happened, their intensity completely dropped, and they looked like a different team in a bad way in the second half. Now, in the first half, they had a lot of possession early. That is Miami, and it feels like RSL was just keep turning the ball over in the midfield. Like, they were definitely not starting on time in this one, and that there was just so many turnover from RSL, giving the ball right to Miami. Though there was no shots through the first 10 minutes of this game. That changed in the 17th minute, as the first shot of the game did see Messi free kick that was actually clear off the line by Justin Glad. Real Salt Lake actually set up a very interesting kind of set piece defense, where they had two players besides the post, and that turns out to be a brilliant set piece defending kind of setup. Because if it wasn't for Glad in that back post, that ball probably would have ended up into the back of net, and it would have been 1-0 in favor of Miami. And we're gonna talk about once again Messi scoring an amazing free kick on opening day. But that being said, on the next corner, on the ensuing corner, that is, Messi did try to go for Olympico, but it was palmed away by McMath. Messi have definitely tried to go for those Olympico a couple of times. You must have seen a fellow Argentine number 10 Reynoso did it last year, and he wants to have one of that to his collection. But in the 20th minute, Suarez puts one right to McMath. I guarantee you this is probably the last time we're going to see Suarez play the full 90 minutes, because you can clearly see that, when Luis Suarez was bought into Miami, as much as I know there's a lot of hype surround that signing, my biggest concern about Luis Suarez is that, he's pretty much not only near the tail end of his career, but this is pretty much his last year in his professional career. You can clearly see that he was at time a liability on the attack. He was very slow and just almost a shell of his old self. And the fact that he played 90 minutes in this game, I mean, that was really surprising. And it was no surprise that when he was subbed off by Tata Martino for Campana in the 90 minutes, it looked like he was about to collapse. Like, as he was going onto the bench, it looked like he was about to collapse, and he was out of gas. And that I have a feeling that there's no way we're gonna see Suarez play a full 90 minutes ever again. Like, he was even out of gas by the time when we even head into halftime, and there was time where he was even limping on the pitch. And we talk about the problem that he has with his knees and the injuries that he's been dealing with. It just feels like it was very odd to see Tata Martino decide to leave him out for as long as possible. I mean, it almost like I think he was trying to maybe get his best player as part of the showcase for the entire game, because the fans pay a lot to attend this game to see those players. But at the same time, this is kind of what cost Miami last season with the way that Tata Martino decided to roll out some of his best player and some of his showcase player, and it kind of harmed them in a big way where we saw the injury concern, and you hope that Suarez is. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's not injured, but there's no way he can play full 90 ever again after the fact that he went full 90 in this one. It just looked like he was about to collapse, as I said, when he came off the bench. But there was no doubt that Miami was starting to ramp up the pressure. Yetland would blasted wide as the flag went up. The shots was 7-0 for Miami, 21 minutes in, and this is because after a couple of minutes ago, there was no shot in this game. Look how fast it took for Miami to start to generate chances. McMahon then denied Gomez from close range before Arango had the first shot for RSL, but he puts it way high in the 32nd minute. Alba then with a half volley shot that goes wide from top of the arc, and you just kind of had a sense that it was a matter of time before the dam is going to broke for this RSL team. And it did. In the 39th minute, Robert Taylor would score from Messi and Busquets to make it 1-0 in favor of Inter Miami, but that is one that McMath want to have back. And to be fair, Zach McMath had a great game in this one. But as the old saying goes with goalkeeper, it doesn't matter how great of a game you have, you're always going to remember that one mistake that you made, and this was the mistake. I mean, McMath, I'm pretty sure he wants that one back. I mean, the shot from Taylor, it was right toward him. That is one that, with how good McMath has been for RSL for the past year or so, that one he's got to say. Like, there's no doubt that he, like I say, he would want to have that one back. But Miami got a much deserved 1-0 lead, and then Taylor tried to go for another one, but he missed wide from long range, and it just feels like RSL was playing scare. And I get it. Yes, it's a big game, and you're playing against a very known opponent, but still, it just feels like it was kind of weird to see them playing scare, and that again, also, I know this is the first competitive game and they're trying to get themselves back to competitive sharpness, but they just look so disconnected over the field, and they look just getting pulled apart, and maybe even lucky the fact that it's still only 1-0 in this one. And then right on the stroke of halftime, Arango then missed one from close range. It was a tough game for Chicho Arango. I mean, he really never got it going, and maybe again that has to do with the preseason rust that is still there on this Real Salt Lake team. But we head to halftime with RSL. Thankfully for them, they're only down 1-0 in this one, because in the second half, whatever Pablo Mastroeni said to this team at halftime, yeah, it definitely worked in the second half, because after Gomez missed wide after a bad turnover from Miami, again, this is the thing I've talked about before. Those turnovers from Miami, we have seen this happen in the preseason, and we saw it again, especially in the second half. They were turning the ball over and over again. Like, I think in the first 5 minutes, they turned the ball over 3 times in their own half, and are very lucky. The fact that in this game, RSL was just being so wasteful with those opportunity that they had to capitalize on the turnover for Miami. And even wrote here, the turnover has started to reel its ugly heads from Miami again. Gresso then puts it wide in the back post in the 52nd minute before Arango would heads it wide from close, or actually he hits it high from close range. And again, RSL, they definitely look like they woke up in the second half. And now the question is, can they capitalize and be a little bit more cleaner in the final third? Spoiler alert, no, they can't. Because in the 60th minute, Messi had a shot that was blocked off the hand of Brian Vera. And this actually should have been a penalty for Inter Miami, have it not if Busquets was in an offside position prior to that play. If Busquets was not called offside here, that's a penalty, because you can clearly see Brian Vera when he trying to block the shot of Messi. He basically put his hand in the air to block that shot, and that, yeah, Vera probably got away with that one, and RSL got away with one there. And then Brody would then flash one wide from close in the 63rd minute. Again, RSL was getting closer to the equalizer, but can they get a shot on goal? Because up to this point, as much as they put a lot of pressure, they haven't really challenged Drake Calendar a lot in this one. In the 71st minute, Luna would blast it high from long range, and again, the fatigue definitely was showing from this Miami side. I mean, they just look like a step off compared to the first half, and this is not a big surprise, because after going through that world core that they have, and especially with this season playing a lot of games, and the fixture congestion is going to be a huge problem for this Miami team. This is where, again, I think Taylor Twellman had mentioned it many times, for teams are going to find ways to capitalize on this. And the blueprint is, as long as you don't beat yourself in the first half, and when you can take advantage of a very tired Miami team, that's when you can basically pounce on it and maybe score a couple of goals against them because of it. But in the 72nd minute, calendar would deny Vera, who had a free header here. The shots were now even at 13 apiece. So in the first half, when the shots were so lopsided, all of a sudden now it seems like RSL has catch up in terms of the shots, and it's now dead even at 13. But problem is, the shots on goal was still heavily in favor of Miami, 6-1 in favor of Miami. Chicho then was tripped up by Yetlin in the 78th minute, and he was irate at the fact that there was not a card here, because when the ball was played to Chicho Arango from Anderson Julio, it definitely looked like Chicho Arango was the last man. And if that is the case, that's a denial of goal score opportunity, and that probably should have been a red card. And keep in mind, with the way that this is the first game where we see replacement referee, I will not be surprised this is going to be the last time we're going to see some controversial call. I mean, controversial call is going to be almost a given in every single game, and unless if this the end of replacement ref is not going to come to an end, or unless we might see a fail Mary moment happen in MLS with these replacement ref. Yeah, this is going to be something that we're just going to have to live with, and that again, I can understand why RSL fans and even Chicharongo is going to be very upset that that absolutely should have been a red card when the way that way that Yetlin brought him down, and it clearly felt like it was a denial of goal score opportunity. Vera then puts one right to counter, and up to this point, you can clearly see Miami is on a fin roll. They were just hanging on for dear life here to hold on to this 1-0 lead. So to everybody's surprise, they would eventually get that second goal in the 83rd minute, as Diego Gomez would score from Suarez and Messi to make it 2-0 in this one. And really, that was kind of the first real attack that Miami has had in the second half, and just completely against the run of play. Like that was an absolute backbreaker for RSL. In fact, just 2 minutes later, it looked like the floodgates open, but McMath absolutely robbed Suarez from a point blank effort there. I'm surprised that Suarez still had enough energy to shoot that one, because again, he looked like he was completely out of shape and looked completely washed up throughout this game. And again, I even wrote RSL. They looked like they completely shell shocked and looked distraught after conceding that second goal. Like they were pushing to trying to get this equalizer for a lot, and that next thing you know, Miami go on the attack on one end, and now it's 2-0 in favor of Inter Miami. McNabb then denied Messi in the front post, and then Pablo Ruiz would put it wide from close in the 3rd minute of stoppage time. As in the end, Miami win 2-0 in this one. Shots in this one, 16 shots apiece for both teams, 9 shots on goal compared to 2 that RSL had, 7 shots off target for the 3 that Miami had, 6 shots that was blocked for the 5 that Miami has, and possession-wise, 51% possession compared to 49% possession that RSL has in this game. So, for Miami, they'll be happy that they, of course, got the 3 points, and I know, obviously, the concern is still going to be in terms of how this team aren't able to play a full 90 minutes, especially with these older guys on the roster. But at the end of the day, they'll be happy that they of course got 3 points. But for RSL, they'll be kicking themselves. Like they had Miami where they wanted. If they were just being a little bit more clinical in front of goal, they easily could have tied this game up and not lose this game. And that's going to be something that, again, I go back to what I said about how teams are going to capitalize on those chances that RSL has. I think that's going to be the case. I mean, especially when you look at the East, when you have so many good teams that knows to do well in terms of their clinical finishing. I will not be surprised if Inter Miami are going to face some of the top echelon team like the Union, like Cincinnati, or even Orlando. That they could have a chance to pull apart this Inter Miami team, because of the way that Inter Miami's got to clean up their mistake at the back. This whole preseason, they have been poor in terms of defense and keep giving the ball away. They cannot afford to do that, especially against a much better uh, team in the future. And that all starts in the next game when they play against the LA Galaxy. That I won't be surprised the Galaxy will definitely have much more better attacker that can punish Miami compared to what RSL just didn't do so in this game. With that being said, I am now going to switch forwards and now look at the two CONCACAF Champions Cup game involving MLS team tonight. All right, so now moving on into the next game, and now talk about these game involving MLS team in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. We start off with the game that I'm pretty sure nobody watched because they were so focused on the Inter Miami versus RSL game. Well, unless of course you're a New England Revolution fan or a diehard CONCACAF Champions Cup fan. Is the Revs and Independente. Now, I will say that as much as I know the Revs probably should have won more than the 1-0 in this game because they had a lot of chances in this one, I would say that they're probably still happy the fact that they not only got that away goal but able to keep a clean sheet in this one because Independente they themselves had some good chances in this game and there were times where this game could have been a lot different if Independente was able to get the equalizer against the Revs. Now, in the first half, the first shot of the game, C. Davis puts it way wide from close range. Independente, of course, had most of the possession early. That didn't last though, because this is that was kind of the only part where the host had most of the possession, because New England really dominate the possession and dictate the game for the rest on. In fact, in the ninth minute, Nacho Hill struck the post on the header there, and I think it was Carlos Hill, the one that got the assist. So, oh man, that would have been a great opportunity to talk about the Hill brother combined for the first time this year. But the Rams started to dominate the possession, but again, they looked like they were a little lackluster in the final third, and they as I mentioned, they got off to a bit of a slow start, which is not a big surprise for a team that is playing their first competitive game. The shots were two apiece for both team up to this point. Nacho Hill then was in on goal there, but he missed that one wide, and the possession again 61 to 39 in favor of New England, but they still look mostly lackluster in the final third. Sean Calais then puts it wide from long range before Mark Anthony K hits it just wide from the corner. I'm surprised Mark Anthony K is still on this team. I thought for sure after that disgraceful dismissal in the game that got New England eliminated by the Union was kind of his last game for the Revs, but no, he still is part of this team, still under contract for this team. But the Revs definitely were knocking on the door as we get close to the halftime whistle, but unfortunately they weren't able to do so, and we had to halftime scoreless between both of these teams. Now, in the second half, not much happened early. There was a lot of fouls and stop and go action, but then in the 55th minute, New England takes the lead. It's Thomas Shankalai. He scored from Baroni to make it 1-0 in favor of New England. So Shankalai, we talked about last season. It seems like he pretty much scored every single game, and there's a reason why New England signed him not only permanently, but also make him a DP tag, and he basically pay dividend because of that. And while this is not a long range effort that Shankalai has known for last season for New England, it's still a great finish to give the Revs a 1-0 lead. Modelo then looked to respond but missed wide there. By the way, I really enjoy this commentator in this game. This commentator really reminds me of John Sterling, the Yankees radio play-by-play man. How John Sterling, whenever someone hits a home run, he kind of make a reference based on the name, and that's kind of the same thing with this commentator. Like there was multiple time he was making some very interesting and funny reference. I think there was multiple time where I couldn't tell if he was purposely mispronouncing Andrew Farrell name because he keep pronouncing it Pharrell like Pharrell Williams that is, and he made a lot of Pharrell Williams kind of reference, and he even made a reference about Dave Romney, maybe related to the former Massachusetts governor and also a uh, former governor that was running for president in Mitt Romney. I'm surprised he didn't make any reference about Modelo, the Independente player, because that he absolutely could have had a chance to make a reference of the beer that everybody seems to like here in California. But no, there was not one time I've heard that he made a reference about Modelo and how that could be a good beer kind of brand, and he might have a career in terms of the beer industry that is. But other than that, I really enjoy this commentator. I mean, I've said before with these CONCACAF commentator, as much as I have seen some of the worst one, like the Houston versus St. Louis game, I've also seen some very fun ones, and that may be one that I would not be surprised if Apple TV might be looking at picking up, because he's kind of a perfect guy that would be in a perfect spot if it's going to be in a game where maybe there's not much action that's going to be happening, but you're still going to be able to keep an eye on it just because he creates some very interesting stories and very fun reference, just like what we see with John Sterling, the Yankees play-by-play. commentator for the radio version. But in the 58th minute, Hio was in on goal there, and this is Carlos Hio that is in on goal. Forgot to put the name there because there's two Hio in this game. But he was in on goal here, but he missed that one wide, and then Modelo would hit one right to Raves, and the game was really starting to open up. Like you can see, both of these teams were chasing for the next goal. Shankali would then hit one right to Roberts before Contreras on the other end would puts it way wide, or actually no, he puts it wide from closer. He didn't actually miss that by much, but you just kind of had a sense that there was another goal in this game. And if this is where, if you're the Revs, you got to be careful because yes, you're up 1-0 in this game. The last thing you need is to give up a goal here, and that while they do still have that advantage heading into the second leg, you definitely want to keep a clean sheet and have a leg up heading into the second leg, and especially not to go too conservative and just hold on to the 1-0 lead, because as what we've seen before with teams trying to be conservative and hold on to the one goal lead, that doesn't usually go so well, especially in this competition. Uh, Carlos Gil then puts it wide from close in the 71st minute before Baroni puts one into the Panama Canal. I mean, yeah, Baroni just completely missed that, and it feels like he's already in mid-season form of the way that he did not really play very well, especially in front of goal. But Carlos Gil would then hits one right to Roberts before Buck had a shot that was deflected wide in the 82nd minute as New England was started to press for that second away goal. And why not? Trying to get a second goal here, maybe make it easier heading into the second leg at home. And then in the 85th minute, the stream basically decided to die. And it sucks the fact that that is the case because up to that point, I really enjoy listening to the commentator. The good news is it did came back and just in time to see Eric Roberts, the Independente goalkeeper, absolutely robbed Carlosio in the front post. I mean, Carlosio couldn't believe how Roberts was able to make that save there from close range. But in the end, New England, they do walk away with a 1-0 victory. And the shots in this one, 20 shots for the 10 that Independente has, 2 shots on goal for the 6 that New England has, six shots on target, or 7 shots on target compared to 4 that Independente has, 4 shots that was blocked for the 3 that Independente has, and possession-wise, 65% possession compared to 35% possession that Independente has in this game. So for New England, it's a job well done for them, and now all they need to do is finish that up at home in the second leg, and we'll see if they can, of course, do that. Now, moving on in terms of the next match is Orlando and Calvary. So yeah, for Orlando, this was kind of a professional performance for them. We knew coming into this game that they were heavy favorites against a CPL team, and they did exactly that in terms of able to easily brush away Calvary, and that maybe they can start to think about their revenge of playing against Tigres in the next round. Now, early on, as expected, whenever we see an MLS team basically start the game in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, especially in the first round, they start off slow, and Orlando was in no exception. But what is kind of surprising is the fact that they were facing against a CBL team that was also in preseason mode. So yeah, if you're Orlando, that's probably not the best way to start coming off the gate slow when you're facing against a team that's also in preseason mode. But I guess maybe that's just when you're on the road, you maybe be start off slow, especially this is your first game of the season. But that rust quickly wears off for Orlando because in the 9th minute, Araujo had a header that was clear off the line. The commentator keep pronouncing his name Araujo and not Arujo, so I'm gonna pronounce it Araujo in this one. I guarantee that it's gonna be different as the season goes along. And I gotta say, Orlando fans, they definitely make their presence in this one. I was surprised that there was some Orlando fans that travel up to this game. I mean, this game, of course, is not in Calgary because of the weather that kind of permit them not to play that game. Even though I checked the weather in Calgary and it's actually pretty nice. Well, I say pretty nice. It's not nice. It's actually 32 degrees, but definitely not in an extreme winter that we heard before. That is the reason why they moved this to the same stadium that the Vancouver Whitecaps play against Tigres in the first leg. But you can definitely hear the Orlando fans doing their chant, and there was definitely a good sizable amount of them being there. Though that being said, in the 12th minute, Kaduchi would deny Ojeda as the flag went up, and then McGuire would just blast one into Vancouver. Yeah, that was not even close to being toward goal. Torres would then puts it high from close range as Orlando was starting to press for the opener, and they do get the opener, as in the 21st minute, Duncan McGuire, after pretty much blast one into Vancouver, started to get himself back to mid-season form as he scored here from Ojeda to make it 1-0 in favor of Orlando. And I gotta say, that also has to feel good for Duncan McGuire. I mean, it's been a rough offseason for Duncan McGuire with that Blackburn transfer saga that ends in a bad way. But great to see that McGuire able to come back on this team and immediately made an impact to this team. And yeah, that gave Orlando City a 1-0 lead. Angulo tried to make it 2-0, but he puts it wide from close range. And up to this point, it was all Orlando up to this point. They were dominating this game. They were pushing to try to get the second goal. And they do, as Facundo Torres would score here in the 38th minute to make it 2-0 in favor of Orlando City. The Calvary goalkeeper, Kaduchi, yeah, I feel like he probably should have done better in terms of it. Like, and this is kind of similar to what I said about McMath. The shot that Torres hit, it kind of looked like it hit straight toward him, especially in the front post, dude. Like when you're a goalkeeper, you have to protect your front post. If you're allowing goals, especially from the tight angle, and allow a goal to slip by you for the front post, yeah, that's not great goalkeeping, and that's one that again, Caducci is probably going to be a little bit disappointed himself. But Orlando wouldn't care. They were up 2-0, and that would be the scoreline heading into the second half. In the second half, pretty much it felt like the same. They continued to dominate Orlando City, and it at times kind of feel like it was a training session for them. I mean, they don't really need to play too hard considering they have a weekend game and have their season opener against Montreal this weekend. Ojeda then hits one right to Caducci before Daly puts it wide from close range, as that was a rare opportunity for Calvary. But then Kupza would puts it high following the set piece, and this was really the first time that Calvary had some sustained pressure, and this is where Orlando's got to realize that, yeah, they don't want to lose their intensity too much and give up a goal against Calvary. And then in the 72nd minute, the post would deny Ladero and his first goal for Orlando. Again, it's going to be really strange seeing Nico Ladero in a purple jersey, especially I think he was wearing number 14 in this game, which that's even more strange considering that Ladero always wears the number 10 with the Seattle Sounders. I think it might be Ojeda that is wearing the number 10, or maybe Facundo Torres is wearing the 10 for Orlando City. So it's kind of weird the fact that Ladero is not wearing that number, and I guess because he's kind of like a backup, he doesn't get the priority compared to when he wear that number 10 shirt with the Seattle Sounders. Speaking of Facu Torres, in the 75th minute, he scored his second goal from Angulo to make it 3-0 in favor of Orlando City. Camargo then tried to look for a response for Calvary, but he hits it right to Galese. And again, to Calvary's credit, they haven't really gave up. And I thought Orlando at times kind of looked like they were being a little bit conservative, trying to hold on to this clean sheet. But in the end, they do hold on to the clean sheet as they win 3-0 in this one over Calvary. The shots in this one, 13 shots for the 9 that Calvary has, 5 shots on goal for the 4 that Calvary has, 1 shot off target for the 3 that Orlando City has, 5 shots on block for the 3 that Calvary has, and possession-wise, 53% possession compared to the 47% possession that Calvary has in this game. And the even better news for Orlando City, because they got a pretty big win in this one. Now in that return leg down in Orlando, I don't think they really need to put their starter in that game, especially with the way that they did put their starter in this one, and that I'm assuming they're going to do the same thing against Montreal in their home opener. I think Oscar Pereira is going to definitely dial it back down, and that most likely he's going to put just his backup in the second leg, because there's really no need to put the starters in three games in 7 days when you already are well in control in heading into the second leg against Calvary, and already maybe you're starting to think about some revenge playing against Tigres in the second round of this competition. But there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of looking at all three of these games. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of both of these games, and also the first game of the 2024 MLS regular season between Inter Miami and Real Salt Lake. Until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.